Hey, what's up, glorifiers? Super excited to share this new and fresh interview I did with Bali, an exceptional product designer and head of design at Wizard. But more importantly, he's a rapidly growing influencer on Instagram and other platforms. He grew from a mere 2,000 followers to 180,000 followers within just 6 months. Currently, his content is focused around his workspace and tech, which is a growing niche. And off the back of that content, he's designed and sold hundreds of wallpaper packs that function across all devices. Now, why is it important for you guys to watch this interview till the end? You see, building a profile on Instagram and growing your followers through content is just an easy way to generate passive income through selling digitalized merchandise such as wallpapers, templates, and so much more, which you can easily design on Glorify. So if you want to know what the essentials are for getting started as an influencer on Instagram, to then selling your own digital products under your personal brand while you sleep, stick around. Really delighted to have you on, man. I know you're a busy guy. Running an entire design team at a startup is no easy task. So we're going to get through this really quickly. Our audience is really excited to learn more about you, your recent kind of growth on Instagram that's been sporadic over the last 12 months, I'd say. Yeah, let's just jump straight in, so starting, everyone wants to get context about yourself. So let's get into a little bit about you, your background, and what you're currently doing right now.
Yeah, so hey everyone, my name is Rad, or Radoslav Bali, that's my full name. I'm originally from Slovakia, but living in Denmark for the past 7.5 years. I currently work as a head of design for a tech startup called Wizard. We are developing a design tool for non-designers. And, in terms of my background, I've been doing design for over a decade. I studied design back in high school. Started when I was 15, 16, already freelancing as I was learning new stuff in school. And then I went from graphic design to web design, branding. And now for the past 6-7 years, it was primarily focused on building SaaS companies, and building digital product design. And yeah, currently managing team of, I think we are 5 or 6 people in my team. So it's less designing nowadays, more managing, but that's the natural progress. That's how you progress as a person. And I kind of like it. It's fun. But then, yeah, I started doing content creation on the side last year to let a bit my creative outlet out. And yeah, luckily it picked up. No idea how and why, but it did. So that's what I've been doing now in my evenings.
That's the big question, right? How and why is I think everyone's big question. The thing is, when you look at these platforms, really every influencer sought growth on these platforms, but these platforms are extremely sporadic every year in terms of the algorithm updates. So you can't really know or really be an expert at this game, I'm sure, right? So, if there was something that at least anyone could rely on, maybe not trying to be an algorithm hacker as such, what can they rely on to get some kind of initial growth or some progress in being Instagram content creator?
Well, I would say not just Instagram, even TikTok or YouTube or any other app, right? Consistency is the number one. You might see some progress after one video. You might see some progress after 20, 30, 50, 100 videos. It's completely different for everyone. That's why there's no guide. There is no strategies. People will sell you courses and stuff like that. I can sell you a course about social media, but I cannot guarantee it's going to work for you, right? I can tell you what I did. It worked, but I've been only following the best practices. But definitely consistency and focus. Focus on one thing at a time. Do it right, and then move on to the next one. Don't try to try to do 20 things at a time. It never works. Do one thing at a time, do it properly, focus on it, and just stay consistent. And if you stay consistent, I can guarantee that you will see the growth. And if you don't see the growth, then probably something is wrong. So you actually should look back, look at the data, analyze it, and pivot. Maybe the niche is not good for you. Maybe maybe you are not the expert that you thought you were in that niche. So maybe you need to learn more, or you need to pivot, or you need to do something about your content so it feels more engaging or educational for your users.
It makes total sense. So a pivot is in order if something's not working, right? And
Indeed.
let's talk about niche a little bit. I'm sure people who know you admire exactly what you do. I think a lot of it's kind of focused around workspace, work environment, maybe a bit of productivity tools, things that digital nerds can be excited about, like myself and everyone else that follows you, tech as well. Is there something that anchors all your content together? Do you feel like if you had to give it a niche, is it hard to give your stuff a niche, or where would you say you lie in the content, in the creative space?
I would say, yeah, it's within like the desk setup, tech, and like video / photography. Also a bit of motivation, but I am trying to go away from the very much like a hustle culture. I'm not a big fan of that. I think that you shouldn't, like, it's not about the amount of hours you work. It's about like what you can actually create and produce in certain amount of time, so you don't overwork yourself. You should have work-life balance. You should have hobbies. You should spend time with friends and family, and then obviously you should spend time on yourself. I
noticed you encourage that kind of lifestyle in your content as well, which is really cool.
Indeed, because yes, you can work 18, 20 hours a day, but you will burn out eventually. Your body is not going to be able to handle that, so it's not sustainable long term. And we should all strive for sustainable solutions. We only have one body. We need to take care of it, right? I know everyone wants to get rich and get famous and like see that massive growth, but I mean, slow and steady is the way to go for sure. But yeah, back to your original question, I would definitely be under like desk setups and like everything around that. So obviously that touches gadgets, that touches lights, and all these kind of stuff. And overall for me, what's really important as a designer, that it looks good. So aesthetics, that's like my number one. It needs to look good. And yeah, so even if you look at the content and you don't get anything out of it, it's completely fine. As long as you were like, okay, that actually looked pretty good, then I'm happy with that.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I think that's one of the reasons I feel, at least my gut feeling, is that your content is so relatable within this niche, and other creators that are producing similar content is everyone is just has a digital life now, right? So, everyone wants the workspace. Like back in the 70s, what was it like? You had to have like a muscle car or something, back then. You had to have like gold chains and you had to have crazy haircut. But like nowadays, it's like, who's got the coolest desk, who's got the coolest laptop, and so this is like, I know I'm coming from a very egocentric perspective, but this is what people value at the end of the day, right? And I think that resonates across the globe, like Gen Z all the way to millennials now, maybe, and so it's cool. I relate to it, and I'm crossing 33. I'm a millennial. I think maybe the tipping point of the boomer generation would appreciate your content, and I see like a wide age range following your stuff and creating some similar stuff to yours. So it's cool. I really enjoy this content, this type of content. What I want to kind of touch on was why and when, like, what was the whole idea behind launching your wallpaper pack? I know this is something that is a central theme within your content. You've showcased your wallpaper packs. You link it on your bio. It seems to be like a business model that you promote. I'd love to know a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was always into like, how can I make more money potentially? But I don't want to make more money by having a second job. Like I don't want to have 2 free active incomes, right? That's not sustainable. So obviously I was looking into, okay, can I maybe sell some digital products? And obviously I can, right? And then I was like, okay, what can I potentially create as a designer, right? So I was like, okay, wallpapers. I like wallpapers. I like stuff that looks nice. So I was like, let me create my own wallpaper pack. And last year I started this entire content creation early January. It was 2022 at that point. I was like, I've been talking about doing content for months, if not years. Like, let me just start. Let me make my first video on YouTube. It took me a week to create one video. like perfectioning and everything. And then I was like, actually, it would be really cool to actually have my own wallpapers in the video. So then, I can promote it that way and people can potentially buy it. So that was sort of the driving force. Like, can I potentially create a secondary passive income on a site? And, digital products is definitely one way of doing it. And it was something extremely easy for me to create as a, creative person. So that was sort of the reason why. And obviously, when it comes to, creating something like a digital product, wallpaper, icon tag, whatever it could be, right? You need to have the audience. So there is a very, very, very small chance, it might still happen, that you just create something, you put it out there, and somehow people are going to discover it and you can make money out of that. There is a very, very, very small chance, and like it could still happen. But you obviously have a much higher chance of people buying your digital products if you promote it, right? So if you create content around your digital products, and it doesn't need to be content that is like, hey, here's my wallpapers, buy them, right? It could just be sitting in the background. Like, I make videos about desk setups and tech, and obviously I film 99% of content in this small room, which is like 8 square meters, but I have my wallpaper on all the time when I shoot content, right? So even if it's me walking into a room or me doing unboxing or me filming something in this room, I'm making sure I always have my wallpaper in the background, and it's just
it's like subtle.
there, right? And people always subtle, exactly. And people always notice, that's a nice wallpapers. Where can I buy it? Right now, link in bio, go link buy it.
So
obviously,
it's
people
being
buy them for
salesy
two
without
reasons.
being salesy, basically.
Exactly. You don't want to push it too much, right? And like, obviously, there are people that want to support you as a creator, so they will buy your digital product. And obviously, there are people that's going to like your wallpaper, so they're going to buy it. But it's a trial and error. I put up wallpaper packs where I sold 5 of them, and that's just how it is. Because you might think it's beautiful, but other people might not think the same, right? And then I put up wallpapers and I sold hundreds of them. And it's just random, obviously. Like,
no, it's awesome. I think
it's hard to predict.
I love the business model, of course. Like, I think there's 2 components. Like you said, you have to build a following, so you have to have that skin in the game to build an audience in this niche, or in any particular niche. If you can create something, and I think maybe it's very possible that whatever niche you're in, everyone's got a phone, everyone's got a computer, a laptop, and everyone likes beautiful aesthetics and possibly even a motivational message to go behind it. I know some of your wallpapers has this cool statement like focus and things like that, and that's relatable for a lot of people in the digital space, whether they're professional or they're an entrepreneur or marketer. These things resonate. So I love that idea. And it's cool. Like you said, digital products is evergreen. You can just put it out there. You build an audience, people will buy your stuff. It's almost like a non-tangible merch, right? Like, you don't have to actually ship it or anything like that. They get it directly. So it's, I'm sure our audience is really going to dig this. And really exciting stuff. Just to tell our audience, we're going to be planning a challenge very soon, a webinar, both teaching you how you guys can design wallpapers, as well as inviting you guys to participate in the challenge. But that little bit about that later on. What can you advise, or if our audience was to go out and start to potentially create a wallpaper pack on Glorify, for example, what kind of ideas and tips could help them as a starting point to get on that canvas and start creating?
Well, so what was important for me, for example, is that my wallpaper sort of like resonate my brand, right? So something that I would like or I would put out, right? It needs to obviously look visually good, but also have some sort of message. As you mentioned, on many of my wallpapers, I said focus, or I say consistency.
Yeah.
But my creative process is, I obviously do some research. I see what's out there. I see what's trending, right? There is multiple ways of doing wallpapers. You can create wallpapers out of photos. So if you have photos, you can put them in, you can put a text on top of them. That's one way of doing wallpapers. And you can create digital wallpapers. These could be, for example, really nice gradients, right? So you can find nice color combinations that really are matching together, and just figure out and place them all together. And I mean, it's a lot of playing around, right? Like, does it work over here? No, let me change the shape. Let's do a radial gradient. Let's do linear gradient. Let's combine two gradients, and it's gonna create a third gradient, right? Or it could be something extremely minimal. Like I created a super minimal, like a geometric sort of wallpaper pack, where it was actually just a bunch of lines. And then what you can do, you can apply like linear gradients on top of them, so they are like slowly disappearing on the edges, and they
One
are
of my
creating
favorites,
this
that
like
one. I
nice
love that
smooth
one.
waves. Thanks, man. Thanks, man. So that's sort of the creative process. Obviously, it's nice and get input from if you have audience, it's nice to get input from the audience. So you can ask questions like, what kind of wallpapers would you like to see, right? Is it holographic? Is it 3D? Is it super simple, minimal, geometric? Is it gradient? What is it, right? It helps a bit. You're not starting completely from scratch sometimes. But I mean, sometimes you have ideas and you're like, okay, actually, let me just create something. Let's put it out there and let's see. That's one aspect of it. The second aspect that you should think of for sure is a technical aspect of it. And like, it should work on a phone, it should work on desktop, but also think about nowadays ultra wide monitors, right? Many people nowadays have ultra wide 34, 40-inch screens. If you create a 4K wallpaper, that's going to get cropped. Like I create versions of some of my wallpapers, especially the recent packs, that are actually built for mobile specifically. Then I have desktop, and then I actually have extra ultra wide monitors. So everything is in. For you, it's a minimum effort put in to take the same design, copy it, adjust the edges so it fits the different resolutions. But for someone who is buying it, they are looking at these stuff. Like, can it fit on my device? Is it going to look on my monitor? So, if you spend 30 more minutes on it, but you're going to get potentially a couple more people that's going to buy it, it's worth it. So go the extra mile, and perfection it. And the good thing about wallpapers is that the maintenance of them is super easy. If there is something wrong, you can always update the link. You can always update your products on whatever store you're selling, and send email to the customer being like, hey, I updated it. Now you can download it again. I fixed these issues. And obviously one tip, it's good to test them out on different monitors. If you're designing on MacBook, obviously you are designing on the best screen in the world. But if you have a monitor that has a VA panel or something, those monitors don't have the same amount of colors and are not as sharp as your MacBook monitor. So you might see bleeding, you might see rasterizing, especially if you're playing with a lot of heavy gradients. So if you see that, small tip, add grain on top of it. Grain helps to eliminate bleeding.
When you say grain, is that like noise?
It's very noisy, and like you can see it a lot on VA panel monitors, where if you combine way too many colors and you start applying, like, for example, some lighting effect, like a linear gradient that just go from white to completely transparent, it creates this like almost like a pixelated rasterize on top of it, and it looks bad, obviously.
Right, I see.
But you can eliminate a lot of that with grain. So just add a grain texture. It could be a grain image.
Yeah.
Lower the opacity or put an overlay, and it's going to help you help a lot.
Is it kind of like these bars, right, that go across the screen? I think I've seen that,
exactly.
and I agree, because when doing motion graphics, I learned to use grain to cover those weird bars, like when you use gradients, and makes sense. No, it makes total sense. I guess the last I think, again, you touched on this topic, but to go deeper into this, around the topic of generating revenue from wallpapers. So what's the best way to generate revenue from wallpapers, basically?
So create a digital product. Like if I would go very simple, it would be like, you obviously create your wallpapers, and then you need to put it out there, right? So you put it on your socials and you create content around your digital product. So you create a content around your wallpapers. And I mean, and you put it out there, you put it on TikTok, you put it on Instagram, you put it on Twitter, put it everywhere. And don't just make one piece of content, make 5, make 10. You never know, that one video might took off and get 1 million views. That's going to bring you some sales, and it might not be the first video. It might not be the second video. It could be the 10 or 20 or 30th video that you put out. but obviously you need to promote it, right?
Where do you host the wallpapers, the system behind it, like the website? Do you have any recommendations there?
So right now I'm migrating everything from Gumroad to Lemon Squeezy. You can start on Lemon Squeezy completely for free. It doesn't cost you anything. They have fairly low percentage that they take. I think it's around 5%. So you can actually host everything on Lemon Squeezy. That will be one option. Second option will be Gumroad if you want to. They did recently change their pricing, so it's a bit higher. So they take a 10% cut. But both of these platforms are free, and so you don't need to pay for anything, and you can host your wallpapers. So then when someone, when you create a wallpaper, you host it up there, you get a link to your store, and then when someone comes, buys it, you get their email address, but they're also hosting your wallpapers, right? So let's say, Omar, you put up something, I go buy it, you get my email, I get an email from you saying, hey, you just purchased this wallpaper pack. Then I have a link that's like linking to your store where I can download them. If you update anything, I still have access to it. You know, you can email me about, hey, Rad, I just updated this, go and check it out, or something like that. So definitely what's important is to build that email client list. And, you know, because then whenever then you put up something new, you can shoot a new email being like, hey, I just put up a new wallpaper pack. And a good tip over here, the perfect way to build up a email client list is to put up freebies. I put up 2 or 3 wallpaper packs that are completely free. And, you know, I get like 10, 20 downloads of those every single day. And that's just email coming into my email list. And then whenever I put up something new, I have that email. I can just send out an email and be like, hey, release a new wallpaper pack. Some of them might convert, right?
Yeah, it's an asset,
so
man. Like you're building this this digital currency.
Asset, exactly.
I mean, emails is a digital currency, right? And you can tomorrow you can launch something, and you know people are going to dig you, so they're going to dig your products for sure, and it makes total sense. So awesome, Gumroad and Lemon Squeezy. I'm sure there's other platforms as well. We appreciate like you recommending these two, so these our audience can go check those out. I think we're coming to the end of our segment, man. I don't want to take too much of your time, but you've given tons of value, and I think our audience are going to be really pumped to see if they can apply this in their own kind of hustle and journey. Just one last thing before we tune out. You're a busy guy. You're running an entire design team at a startup. Wizard, is that okay for me to say, by the way? Wizard is a startup, great platform that automates or makes UI UX easy to design for non-designers. I think it's important to give you guys a shout out. But on top of that, like being the busy guy that you are, you're finding time to create content and also put out these digital products, right? So for those people who are struggling, they might have a full-time job. How can they get started? Like, what's the mindset they need for them to, like do this around their free time, for example? What were the hurdles you had to go through to be consistent?
That's a very good question. I mean, let's be honest. Many people, like me included, right? I have a full-time job. I'm obviously, working 8-9 hours a day. And I was like, I'm super busy, whatever. And then I actually look at my time, and I was sometimes spending an hour and a half a day scrolling through TikTok and Instagram. So I was consuming more content than I was creating, right? And I was like, I can use that time to create something, right? And that's what I did, to be honest. I just like, I was like, okay, I come home, I come home around 5, 6, then I have a break, I make a coffee or eat something, chat with my girlfriend, and then I go and I have like this hour and a half too where I create. And, it's actually like, obviously many people have different schedules, and it could be that you only can do this over the weekend, which is completely fine, right? It slowly builds up. I am lucky enough that the work that I do allows me to work from home. Sometimes I come to the office, I work from home, but I'm like 5, 6, 7. I'm sort of off. I don't need to think about the job until the next day. So find an hour, half an hour, find 2 hours a day sometimes, and just try to create something. when it comes to overall content creation, what's going to make it, if you feel like you don't have a nice space, if you feel like, it's too cluttered or whatever, too many colors, just simplify it. And like what helps me a ton was to, for example, sync my entire office in like 3 main colors. Like I have technically I have shades of gray, right? So I have a concrete like table, then I have a black accessories, black monitor, black computer, some gray here and there. And then I have accent colors, right? So my plants, I have I see a hard drive that's still on my desk, right? But when you see it, it's orange. Oh my God, like you immediately see something that like it looks different. There's color in it. But sorry, my main point about all of this is that when I make my videos, they look aesthetically good, right? Because everything is in the same color tone, and it's just so much easier for me to color grade my footage and overall create content around this.
Actually, this is one of the most fundamental, just to add to that, that's one of the most fundamental tips I learned from you in my content creation process, because my grid, man, as you knew, if you scroll down my Instagram, by the way, at Omar, build with Omar is my handle. If you guys are not following me already, and we're going to link Rad's handle anyway, so you guys are going to be able to follow him, check his profile out, and follow me on TikTok and on YouTube too. But one of the things I struggled with is my grid, and grid is important because when people decide to follow you, they want to check you out, not just for the content they came across, but what other content is he creating? And if the grid is a put off, then it's very likely you're not going to get that follow. And things significantly improved for me when I fixed my grid based on your advice of sticking to limited color tones that are complementary across every piece. It works. It just works.
Yeah, and it's everything, right? Like try the stuff that matches your skin tone. Like it's even those small stuff that actually make a big difference. The clothing you're wearing, right? Like I'm obviously super monotone all the time. Like I wear black and dark and stuff like that, but that's just my wardrobe, right? But I don't have crazy colors on me because it doesn't fit with my content, and it might fit with your content. Like you might have content that is built around that. So work with what you have, but try to go simple, and then slowly you add on, right? And like, don't be afraid. Don't be like, oh, I need a fancy equipment. I need that you might need a big DSLR cameras. That's because this is like $5,000-$6,000, right? Like it's not cheap. Like you have phone. Like I created many crazy, really good videos on my phone. What I do recommend you to invest in first is actually good lighting. Like lighting is the key. That's the number one. Then is sound. So but you can get a crazy good quality now out of your phone, and just using, for example, the Adobe AI podcast, which is for free, and it'll like boost your sound completely and denoise everything out of it. I made a video about it. You can check it out if you want to on my Instagram. But use what you have. Use your phone. Use the light that you have. Like try to go with something where you can potentially at least adjust the temperature of the light to be either warmer or colder, depends on your preference. You don't need fancy equipment at first to start.
Yeah, I totally
play
agree
with composition.
I want to echo what you said, because up to this day I'm still producing from my phone, and some people say that my content looks almost on par. I didn't say it. People have said that it looks on par with DSLR, so not trying to blow my own whistle here, but my own trumpet here. But it's true. Like you got some amazing cameras on your phone. Say you got iPhone Pro 14, like you're set, man. So totally agree with you, man. Yeah, Rad, do you want to finish any thoughts?
I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to what you guys are going to create at Glorify. I'm stoked. I'm probably going to judge them in a good way, so don't worry.
No, be harsh. You got to be harsh with the audience. You want to put them to hold them to account, because we need some good designs coming up with this competition. Guys, more about this competition, just keep following us on social media, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram, the whole works, and follow our newsletter, right? And join our Discord, of course, because this is where it's going to be happening. Brad, man, you've been awesome. Thanks for sharing all these valuable bites. Well, not bites. So thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing all this valuable knowledge and insights from your experience. This is real practical and applicable stuff, right? And I think all you guys take this stuff and apply it, and just start. I think that's the hardest part. If you start, you're going to see results, and that's what happened with Rad over a full-time job. Like myself as well, just starting in this content space, it is worth it, for sure. So yeah, man, thanks a lot. And I need to say this, man, but stay rad.
Stay rad, exactly. Man, thanks a lot for having me. Really appreciate it. I'm definitely looking forward to see all the crazy wallpapers you guys are gonna create. And yeah, stay rad.
Thanks for watching this video. Just before you leave, we have a very important announcement to make. We have a new wallpaper challenge starting soon, where Rad will also be a judge, and 6 lucky winners will be taking home incredible prizes. All the information and details of this challenge will be released in our new Discord server, which is where the challenge itself will also be taking place. Our new Discord community is becoming the home for all of our Glorify users, a place to connect, collaborate, and learn with like-minded folks. On top of that, you get a direct line of communication with instant messaging with our entire team, including myself, so that we can help you with anything you need. If you haven't joined the Discord community yet, click the link in the description and join now. I'll see you there.